Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for joining me today. I'm here for the Not Too Shabby shop, and I'm going to be making up a bunch of Christmas tags. I don't often make Christmas tags, but I found some wonderful products at the Not Too Shabby shop's online store, and I thought these stamp sets and dies would make some really fun tags. This first stamp set is from Papery Ink, and it's called Giant Holiday 2. And then I have the new Lawn Fawn stamp set. This one is called Giant Holiday Messages. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. And I have the coordinating die. So I thought these would be perfect to create some tags. So I'm going to start with the huge stamp set that says, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And I'm also going to be using some pattern paper from the Not Too Shabby shops. These come from various packs. I just pulled out a few that I thought would go well. I'm also going to be using the Slimline pack from the shop. These are all going to be sentiment-based tags, but I'm going to be doing some fun techniques with these. So let's start out with this Christmas tree sentiment tag. For this, I'm going to pull out my mini Misty, just so that I can stamp it up several times. It's such a huge stamp. And I'm going to be stamping it up onto a piece of white cardstock. I'll ink it up using some VersaFine Onyx black ink. This is a nice sticky ink that allows me to heat emboss or pour over the embossing powder and melt it. And I'm going to be fussy cutting this out so it doesn't have to be perfectly centered on this piece of cardstock. First, I'll use my anti-static powder. And then I can ink out this stamp. And I do stamp it out several times just because it is so huge, but I'm only going to show one stamping. But this VersaFine Onyx Black ink is such a thick ink. It stamps up pretty nice the first time, but it's just a patch in the middle that I needed to restamp. And here it is all ready to go. So I'll pull out a piece of scratch paper to catch the embossing powder. This is just some clear embossing powder. I'll tap off the excess, and then I'll heat up my heat tool and melt that. This will give the sentiment image some beautiful raised, shiny lines. And then it also allows me to ink blend over it without having to wait for the ink to dry. So before I cut this out, I'm going to pull out some Distress Oxide inks. I have some Cracked Pistachio. I'll start with that ink at the bottom. I'm just going to go about halfway up this sentiment. I love the font of this sentiment too. It's so pretty. It would make a great card too. I want to make a card with this image / sentiment. I'm putting the ink down pretty thick. For the top half of this, I'm going to use some salvaged patina. I love how these two blend. They look really pretty together. And I'll go right over that. I'm bringing it out to the edges too, so it doesn't show any white when I cut this out. And I'll blend the two in the middle just to get a smooth transition. I'll pull in my Cracked Pistachio to do that. The ink does dull the embossed lines, but that's easy to fix. I'm just going to bring in a tissue and buff the ink off of the lines. This will make it bright and glossy again. So I'm going to pull out my little paper snips and fussy cut around this image. I left it in, but I did speed it up quite a bit. But I just want a nice border around this Christmas tree. It looks really cute when it is fussy cut out. I don't know if there's a coordinating die, but if there is, I will leave the link in the description box below. Sorry, I am off camera there. Okay, so here it is all ready to go. I'm going to back my tags with another tag, and I'm using this piece of red pattern paper. Just gives it an additional layer of cuteness. So I'll paper punch that at the top. Then I have some really pretty striped black ribbon from Spellbinders. I'll use that ribbon first. I really liked making these tags because it allowed me to use up some of my ribbon and my baker's twine that I don't use a whole lot, so that was nice to break out my stash for this. And then I'm going to tie a bow. I was going to use the black and white baker's twine that you see there, but I decided to pull in some red and white baker's twine. I have a little tin box that I keep my baker's twine in, and I get them from different card kits. But it's just a handy little storage tin. All right, and this tag is ready to go. And then I could always just write my message behind the Christmas tree or on the red tag, the to and the from. And here's a close-up look at the first tag. Now on to the next two tags. I'm going to use the two smaller. They're still quite large, but they're smaller than the Christmas tree sentiment for my next two tags. And I'm using this pattern paper from the Not Too Shabby shop. I'll link to it, of course, below. I liked this paper because there are two patterns with the same hue. There's one that's matte that I'm going to stamp on, and I'll pour over some more clear embossing powder. And then there's the pattern paper that matches it perfectly that looks like glitter. So here's the second tag. This one says Merry Everything. And I'll pour over the clear embossing powder. I like to emboss at the same time, so I'll just get both of these ready. My heat tool's pretty warmed up, so I just had to grab that and start melting the clear powder. The tag die that I'm going to use to cut these out is just an old one I've had in my stash for a while. And it's just the perfect size for these smaller sentiments. I'll run it through my little Sizzix mini die cutting machine. And then it cuts out the hole too, so I don't have to paper punch these. I need a new paper punch. Mine is so old and it doesn't work very good. Leaves kind of rough edges on the sides. Now for the Merry Everything tag. I'm going to trim this down so it'll fit better in this small die cut machine. And then I'm going to cut out tags with the coordinating paper, just to have a backing for these as well. This pattern paper is called Lovely Fall Hues, and it's still available in the shop. Came out a few months ago, but I love slimline pattern paper. Just makes life easier when you're making your slimline cards. I don't have to go down in my storage and pull out my 12 by 12 pattern paper. Have it all ready to go. I don't use my 12 by 12 paper pads much anymore, so I keep it in storage in the basement. So let's get out the blue toned tag. I love having this little die cut machine on my desk. It's just so handy when you need to cut out smaller things. And now let's put these two tags together. I'm going to give it some dimension using some foam squares. So I'll pop up the sentiment just a little bit, but I want to align the holes so that I can put my thread or ribbon through there. Let's do the same with the 'Tis the Season tag. I had so much fun creating these tags. It's something different that I don't usually do, but I want to make coordinating cards to go with these. It'd be fun to be all matchy-matchy. I'll pull out some more baker's twine for both of these cards. And for these, I actually wish I had used a more substantial ribbon just to give it a little more something something. I guess I could always go back and change that out. But I did like that the baker's twine kind of was matchy to the tags. And then I'm going to tie a little bow with some thin white ribbon. This gives it a really cute touch. Then I can trim those ends. And I'll do the same, of course, for the second tag. And here they both are. I love the dimension on these, and then the embossed lines just make it extra special. Okay, so let's open up this Lawn Fawn set. And again, this one is called Giant Holiday Messages. I guess this isn't the first set of giant messages that they've created. And I love that it has the coordinating die. So I'm going to stamp this onto a piece of pale blue cardstock. And I'm not going to emboss it this time. I'm just going to ink it up with some Copic friendly ink. This is some extreme black ink from My Favorite Things. And of course, I stamp it up several times just to get a nice dark impression. Isn't that such a cute sentiment? And I've seen several cards made up with these stamps. They're really pretty. But let's go ahead and die cut this. I love the scalloped oval. I'm also going to die cut a piece of the Not Too Shabby Shop pattern paper to put behind it. I just like the shadow that the extra piece of pattern paper provides. And it cuts out so cute. Look at how cute those two look together. I'm going to pull out a B02 Copic marker to add some shading behind the letters. Let me zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. But this just makes it pop a little bit more. I'm just going on the right side of all of the letters. And I think I could have even gone with a darker Copic marker. But that's all right. This looks really cute. And I'll use this same Copic marker to color in the cute little snowflakes around the sentiment. The other Lawn Fawn set is called Giant Birthday Messages, and it also has a coordinating die. I think I'd like to get that one for my stash too. These are just so cute. So let me pull out my hole punch, and I'll punch both of these. And as you can see, it's not a very good or easy hole punch to use. But I make it work for this. Now let's tie some ribbon around these as well. I'm going to use some thin red ribbon. And then some blue and white baker's twine to tie a bow. And then I decided to bring in some gems. These are some teal blue gems from Spellbinders, just to add a little bit of bling. And these are very small gems. I'm going to leave the ends of the bow kind of long. I'm putting them right over the dots around the sentiment. And it's hard to catch on camera, but it just adds a nice touch of shine. We'll add one more teeny gem. And that finishes off this tag. Here is kind of a close-up look at that. And I'm not going to adhere these two together just because I like the movement. On to the next one. I want to stamp this on some white cardstock next. It really pops on white cardstock, I think. And I used Copic friendly ink again so that I could color in the letters. I'm using that pattern paper for my color inspiration. So I'm putting some darker, deeper red at the bottom of the letters, and then a lighter, brighter red at the top. I'll do that with the Merry as well as the We. And then I'm coming in with some green Copic marker to color in these little leaves. It just adds a cute touch, just this little bit of color. Now let's die cut this. And I'm going to die cut another piece of pattern paper as well. And here they are, all cut out. So I'll go ahead and punch a hole in the top of both of these again. And for this tag, I'm just going to pull out the black and white baker's twine. I'll pull it through, and then with these ends, I am going to tie a bow. And I am going to double knot this bow so it doesn't come undone when I tie it onto the present. And then here is a close-up look at the finished tag. I really love the pattern paper that I put behind this one. For my next two tags, I'm going to be doing some more embossing, but this time I'm using some colorful embossing powders, and I'm going to use some oatmeal cookie craft cardstock. This is also from Spellbinders. I stamped it out several times so it's nice and sticky. And then the first embossing powder I'm using is called Leaf Green from Ranger. And it doesn't show up very well on camera, but in person it really pops and is very legible. The next one is going to be the Geranium Red embossing powder. I do like this one the best just because it is so bright. I'll melt these with the heat tool. And to make them pop just a little bit more, I'm going to be doing some ink blending behind or over these. So let's melt the red one. These embossing powders look really great on dark or even black cardstock as well. They really show up nicely. Before I do the ink blending, I'm going to run these through the die cut machine with the coordinating die. For the green sentiment, I'm using some white unicorn pigment ink. And this really obscures the lines, but I am going to buff it off here in just a minute. But I like this touch of white behind the sentiment. And let's clean up the embossed lines. This helps it to pop more too. And for my red embossed sentiment, I'm using some spun sugar distress oxide ink. Off camera, I do add a little bit of pink Copic marker on the Wee and the Mary. And I also color in the leaves with a green Copic marker again. I'm trying to put this on very thickly. And then I'll just buff off the embossed lines. So, of course, I'm using some more pattern paper, but this time I'm going to use this more traditional looking tag die behind these. And it's fun because you don't have to use the same shape, of course. And the different shapes just add a fun touch to it. I'll use some more of the black and white baker's twine. With the ends, I'm going to tie a bow. I will double knot these again. And then I'll add some more gems. I have green and red gems that I use on these. Let's do the second tag. So as usual, I'll have all of the links to these products listed in the description box below. The Not Too Shabby shop not only creates their own designs for different stamps, as well as their card box of the month and their stamp and die of the month, but they also carry lots of beautiful products from other companies. So let me show you a close-up of all of these tags. So here are my last two. And then I'll bring all of the others in as well. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It's kind of something different for me to do. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know and I can create more tag videos. I had such fun with this. I hope you were inspired not only to make tags, but make some fun cards with these techniques that I used. I'll be back again really soon with another card crafting video. Take care, everyone. Bye.